present here in this very unique, one of its kind, poetry reading session. Today we have amidst us some of the most illustrious and distinguished poets from over the world. And they are here to read their poems, and not just to read their poems, they are here to share an experience which is common to one and all, and that is the experience of reading poetry. You may wonder why we read poems. What is the purpose of reading poems? And why have we invited such illustrious guests to do the job? And if you ask me, and if you see what's on the board, poetry is the essence of life. In many ways, it is the reverberation of life and file. So my wish to you is that when you are hearing these distinguished guests in front of us, you will be able to not just listen to them, not just be one in your feelings with them, not just learn from the life lessons that they are giving you, but you become in tune with the very essence of what poetry stands for. And that is to make us more human. At the very onset, I would like to first call Mr. Amir Or. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
So the first poem is a kind of a chat with a Greek poet, Kavafis, specifically with his poem, which you may still learn, Waiting for the Barbarians. So this one is titled The Barbarians, Round 2. It was not in vain that we awaited the barbarians. It was not in vain that we gathered in the city square. It was not in vain that our great ones put on their official robes and rehearsed their speeches for the event. It was not in vain that we smashed our temples and erected new ones to their gods. As proper, we burnt our books that have nothing in them for people like that. As the prophecy foretold, the barbarians came and took the keys to the city from the king's hand. But when they came, they wore the garments of the land, and their customs were the customs of the state. And when they commanded us in our own tongue, we no longer knew when the barbarians had come to us. Okay, then the next poem I will read you first in Hebrew, then I'll say a word and read it for you in English. It's titled, I Look Through the Monkey's Eyes. אני מביט מעיני הקופים המשחקים בגולגולתי בין השרחים. אני נישא בכנפי הנשר בעופו, כי באו מעי במעיו. בחיק האדמה אני זוחל עם התולעים שאכלו את עיניי מערובותיהן. אני ירוק וצומח בעשב שדושן בבשרי הנרקב. גוף אלוהי שלי, מה גדלת מאז? It will be nicer if you listen rather than talk to each other. I look through the monkey's eyes. I look through the monkey's eyes as they play with my skull in the treetops. I am lifted with the eagle as he flies, because my entrails are in his. In the belly of the earth, I crawl with worms who ate my eyes out of their sockets. I am green. I grow in the grass that my rotting flesh makes rich. Oh, my body, how you have grown. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amir. Those poems were very powerful in themselves. And if you listen carefully to the poems that Amir sir was reading, perhaps on a silent day, you can hear yourself breathing. It was that powerful. So thank you. Do we have a question for Mr. Amir? If there is a question that is running in your mind about the poem or poetry in general, then he will be happy to answer those questions for you. Maybe all the questions at once at the end? Okay, not a problem. So very quickly then, we go to our second poet, Mr. Hassan Lal Abdullah. I welcome you, sir. May we have a round of applause?
Thank you so much. You know, when I come to some of this reading, it reminds me of my students. And I took my time off. My students are like you. I am a teacher, high school teacher, so 11 and 12 grades. And they're having fun right now because I'm not in the class. When your teachers are absent, you are very happy, right? So, see, I'm giving them a puja day or Eid day. However, coming over here, I found that your language and my mother tongue are very similar to each other. I'm from Bangladesh, but I came from US right now. I live in there. So I'll read two poems, first in Bengali and then in English. And I edit a magazine. It's called Shabdagucho, which I did it yesterday. Whoever asks a question will get a copy of it. It's an international bilingual magazine, Poetry Mag, and you'll get a copy of it. All right. So the first poem, কিছু পয়সা হলে কিছু পয়সা হলে আমি দেব শিল্পের দোকান আধুনিক আজান আমার প্রতিধ্বনি তুলে ছুটে যাবে অসমাপ্ত গন্তব্যের কোনায় কোনায় কটা দিন যাক কিছু পয়সা হলে তোমার নরম পা দুখানা ভিজাবো সতেজ জলে কিছু পয়সা হলে কিনবো আমি বিরাট আকাশ সারাদিন ঘোরাফেরা তার পাটাতনে পাখিরা জাগিয়ে দেবে পাখিরা পাড়াবে ঘুম সহজ স্বভাবে পৃথিবী দুহাতে পাবে কোমল দুহাত ক্লান্তির বঙ্কিম রেখা শুধু মুছে গেলে কিছু পয়সা হলে মৌমাছির গান শুনে আমি সময় কাটাবো দূরের আলাপ তারে তারে কথা বলা আর নয় অযথা স্নায়ুর অপচয় কিছু পয়সা হলে বাংলাদেশ জেনে রেখো আমি তোমার বুকেই মাথা রেখে সারা রাত নীরবে ঘুমাবো If you please do not talk while I'm reading, I'll be very happy. Thank you so much. So now it's in English. I'm getting a complete silence. Very good. Thank you so much. With a little cash. If I have a little cash, I will open an art shop. My modernist call will raise echo and journey to corners of places not reached before. Let a few days pass by. If I have a little cash, I will wash your soft feet with spring water. If I have some money, I will buy the giant sky. Wandering all day on its floor, birds will wake me up and they will again put me easily asleep. The world will find my hands in its own if the crooked line of restlessness is wiped away. With some money, I will spend my time listening to the bees. Far away conversation, no longer talking from wire to wire, no more wasting of sinew. Bangladesh, take note of it. I will rest my head upon your breast and sleep all night in tranquility. Thank you. Thank you. Ready for another one? Yes? Okay. How many of you are hungry right now? It's lunchtime, right? Many of you are hungry. No? No, you are not hungry, so you will be hungry after this poem. খাবো আমি খাবো খাচ্ছি এবং আরো খাবো যা যা পাবো আমি খাবো সকাল খাবো সন্ধ্যা খাবো রাত্রি খাবো কাজে যাওয়া আসার সময় ট্রেন ও বাসের যাত্রী খাবো আমি খাবো আমি খাবো I know you are hungry now, so please give me some time. আকাশ খাবো পাতাল খাবো ভদ্রলোক আর মাতাল খাবো চন্দ্র খাবো সূর্য খাবো হাজার রনের তুর্য খাবো ইচ্ছা মতন আসবো যাবো ইচ্ছা মতন কিচ্ছা খাবো আমি খাবো আমি খাবো রৌপ খাবো কর্ণ খাবো মুখ চোখ ও বর্ণ খাবো বিশ্বের সব বর্ণ খাবো আমি খাবো আমি খাবো দালান কোঠা গাড়ি খাবো সব শুয়োরের নাড়ি খাবো ভণ্ড খাজার দাড়ি খাবো আমি খাবো আমি খাবো প্রজা খাবো রাজা খাবো মৃত নয় তাজা খাবো অত্যাচারীর সাজা খাবো আমি খাবো আমি খাবো Now this is in English. I will eat. I will wait until you are done talking. Thank you. I will eat. Eating now and will eat more. Whatever I get, I will eat for sure. I will eat the dawn, the dusk, and the dark. On the way to work, back to home, I will eat on the train and bus. I will eat whatever I pass. I will eat heaven and hell, wise guys and the loon. I will eat the sun and the moon. I'll come and go as I wish, eating the bugle of 1,000 battle at ease, scandals too. Whatever I please, I will eat silver, gold, eyes, ears, and the face. I will eat each and every race. Yes, I will. I will eat palaces, coaches, guts of all swine and roses. I will eat the musk of the hypocrite. Yes, I will eat. I will eat peasants, the monarch's head, alive, not the dead, the tyrant's fate with fate. I will eat. I will. Thank you so much for listening. You are a great listener.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan Lal. I was standing at the backstage and I was astonished, shocked pleasantly so, by the sheer volume of audacity in your poems. It was extraordinary, sir. May we have a round of applause? So students, the reason why we have such illustrious personalities amidst us and we are having this session is to make you see the way poetry is read. We do read poems in the class, but when you are watching Mr. Ramir or Mr. Hassan Lal, you see the way it is done. When he was reading his poems, all of you were captivated, isn't it? All of you were moved along with him. You were not just listening to his words, you were watching his actions. You were listening to his spirit. In many ways, you were listening to his heartbeat. And it definitely echoed in all our hearts, sir. So thank you so much. The third poet, may I have the privilege to call Mr. Marwan Makhol. Sir, please, the podium is yours. May we have a round of applause for him?
You may think that why I'm here again. Marwan is going to read in Arabic. His mother tongue is Arabic. He's from Palestine. So he's going to read in Arabic. I'll read the translation. Go ahead.
أن تحب يعني أن تعيد إلى التفاصيل الصغيرة اهتمامك وأن تتعرف قلبك يدق على صدرك كنشرت البدايات فتستغيث من الطرب
The title of his poem is Love Means. To love means paying attention to tiny details, to know your heart that beats, to your chest with the concerto of beginnings as you seek refuge in the cresto, the crest, the sun, and the moon.
أن تحب يعني أن تتدلى بلا صخب على رف الرهف، وأن يسيح على وجنتيك الندى، فتصحو من ليلك ليلة فيه يخضر الصباح.
To love means hanging without fuss from tender mercies as the dew flows over your cheeks and you wake from night a lilac that makes the morning green.
أن تحب يعني أنك رومانسي تقنع الوادي بأن البحر جف، وأنه سيصبح نهرا لو صب فيك، وأن تعلم الجبل الخشوع أمام مرجك العاطفي هو العلو أخو السمو والمستحيل.
To love means you are romantic. You pursued the wadi that the sea had dried up, yet it will become a river if it flows through you. You teach mountains reverence before your emotional vastness, soaring akin to sublimity and the impossible.
أن تحب يعني أنك تصغر، وأن هاجس الموت مات، تركب الموج لا لتنجو بل لتؤرجح جسمك فيه، تشم ما لا يشمه الآخرون، علاقة الماء بالماء، سكر التكوين.
To love means growing younger and the fear of death dying. You ride the wave not to escape, but to rock your body, to snip what others do not snip. Water's relationship with water, the sugar grains of creation.
أن تحب يعني أن هناك حبيبة وأنك أهبل، تغار منها عليها تثور، إن مست شفتها شفتها تصير، إن شاركتها شفتيها إلها لا إله له في سماوات القبل.
To love means there is a beloved, and that you are a fool. She makes you jealous of herself and fuming if one of her lips touches the other. To become, if you share her with her lips, a God without partner in the fulminative of the kisses.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. McCall. Though we don't understand Arabic, we were one with your sentiment and your feelings, and of course the translation did help indeed. So thank you so much. It was brilliant and beautiful in its own way. Now may I have the pleasure to call Diti Ronan, and she comes from Israel. May we have a round of applause for her?
Thank you. Epigenetics 1. I was the wind singing through curtains, a window looking out at the view, washing, drying in the cold air. I folded love from corner to corner, placing it in carefully stacked sheets. All my hope I gathered there. I stood in the doorway and waited. 2. In the house, your face is curated. Your eyes thumbs against conjunctions of the tongue, dictating the beat of the heart, the diction of the blood as it plumbs through your veins. A wail becomes a laugh, a groan displaced through the labyrinth of rooms. Your image is reflected in the mirror that hangs in the hall. Now I am 2, which is 1. 3. On the Shabbat morning, the house became to a dead halt, sealed its apertures, held its breath. The toys stood in their boxes, the books on the shelves, the cups on the hooks, the water in the jar, the rice in the saucepan. The cracks held themselves in readiness, and no man said the word, nor woman. 4. Now even the deer have left, their steps in the forest subsiding. A cold wind is also a voice, and distant music, a man turning over in his sleep, dreaming of home. Anything is possible now. Music will magnify, wind will waltz, deer will dance at the edge of the valley, their hooves imprinted on the forest floor. Thank you. Second poem I want to dedicate to my husband, who is sitting here. And Monday, pre-dawn. Like a home, I leave you. And when I come back, I turn on the light. You follow me to the kitchen, waiting for a sign of love. I'm hungry. You offer a plate, a chair, a bed. I'm conciliated. I fold my body into yours, while my head leaves for its winding paths. How I longed to capture the words of beauty, their perfection round like a river stone. Homes that have left me come back to visit me. At night, I repay their visit. Farewell, within farewell, within farewell. Still, I know nothing about your ways in me, like how your mornings are red eyes for solace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diti Ronan. The second poem, especially when you were dedicating it to your husband, we all were one with you. And may I say that your words were poetry in motion. It was very powerful, and the way she recited, it was healing as well. So I will refer your poems to somebody, of course, who is lovesick, and of course, somebody who is seeking love. It was that powerful. So thank you so much for those words. May I have a round of applause? Now, the last poet amidst us is Kira Wook, and she comes from the Netherlands. May we have a round of applause for her? Welcome.
Hello. The first poem I will read is inspired on trips to Asia, Sri Lanka and Vietnam. You can't ignore anything, you can only just squeeze through, the bus drivers here think. White chalk shows the places you can die inside. During the hottest part of the day, you can roll up the way a horse bends his legs on the roadside until it disappears in the sand. A person is a friend if he stays after you have paid him in advance. There are different ways of seeing a city. One of them is farmating in a rickshaw. If there is a place where you can step off the world, it's here. Hands behind your back, eyes shut. When the sea stretches out, you can touch everything from the balcony. Men who drag bodies from the water will never eat meat again. Here in India, you have a lot of street dogs. I really love dogs. But in my own country, we don't have street dogs, but we put them in the shelter. And sometimes they are lucky, sometimes they are all alive in there. I used to go to the animal shelter quite often. Barking looked like a ray of light through the bars. The longing to be put on a lead. What depressed me even more were the women casually coming from their sunbeds, close to breaking under their skin. A sickly feeling of shame welled up. I also watched it the way mothers who weren't my own waited for their daughters. Laika, who was sent into space and never came back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kira Wook. May I say that when I was listening to you presenting your poems, it was coming from a deep reservoir of tumultuous emotion. I don't know if I read you correctly, but that is what I felt personally as a listener. And of course, there were many takeaways from the lesson, from your poems. But what was primarily important for me as a listener is never to be afraid of your own convictions, right? What you felt for the street dogs or the way you felt for them. The takeaway for me was that there are times when something in front of you, which is as ordinary as a street dog, may give you a window to self-realization. It is a very simple as well as a very powerful lesson that if we take with us, we'll take far away in life. Now, apart from all the 5 distinguished poets, we have our very own supervisor, Mr. Siti Kanthapati. Yesterday, when I was speaking with Sir, I told him that we are going to have a poetry reading session, and Sir was kind enough to make me hear some of his poems. They were so powerful and extraordinary in themselves that I requested him to have the podium for himself and recite a few of his words for you. So maybe welcome Sir with a round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, students. I feel privileged to be here. and recite a poem which was written by Guljar. It was written in Hindi and it was translated by Professor Goparanjan Mishra in English. I did its translation in Odia. Those wants to get its translation of English, you can get from the Moiksha. Hindi, it is available in internet and it is written by Guljar. Kitabe, the title of the song. And for me, poetry is best word in best order. What is comes to your idea should be very potable as well as quotable is called as poetry. And though I advise the students to write a short poem first, start your career with short poem, powerful, and it gives a message to the society. Without further delay, I'm going to read the poem Odia version of Guljar. For the peoples, those are on the dais, I'll tell about the theme of the poem. Theme is that in this digital world, the books are often we are not referring, and all the information is available in the internet. How the books are feeling about themselves, it is written in this poem. And I have to read in Odia, my mother tongue. So I'll start here. Bon almariro kachore. Bon almariro kachore. ବହିମାନେ ଉଙ୍କି ମାରୁଥିଲେ ଅଭିମାନ ଭରା ଆଖିରେ ମଶାଣୀ ପରି ଅଲୋଡ଼ା ସେମାନେ ଆଜି ମାସ ମାସ ଧରି କେତେ ଯେ ସନ୍ଧ୍ୟା ଯାହାର ଚର୍ଚ୍ଚାରେ କଟୁଥିଲା ବିଚରା ସେ ସବୁ ବିତିଯାଏ କମ୍ପ୍ୟୁଟର ସାମ୍ନାରେ ନିଦରେ ଚାଲିବାର କବଳରେ ବହିମାନେ ଖୁବ୍ ଅସ୍ଥିର ଏବେ ଅଜଣା ଆଶଙ୍କାରେ ପୃଷ୍ଠା ଲେଉଟାଇଲେ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରେ ଦୀର୍ଘଶ୍ୱାସ କଥା ଦେଇ ନ ରଖିବା ସତେ କେତେ ଯେ କଷ୍ଟଦାୟକ ସେ ଯେଉଁ ଆଦର ଓ ସତ୍କାରର କଥା ଦାବି କରୁଥିଲେ ପୁସ୍ତକ ଜ୍ଞାନର ଭଣ୍ଡାର ସେ ଅମୃତ ସେ ତ ଈଶ୍ୱର ଯାହାର କେବେ ବି ମୃତ୍ୟୁ ନାହିଁ ସେ ସବୁ ଠୁଙ୍ଗାରେ ସାଇତା ବିଲୁପ୍ତ ସଂସ୍କାର ଯାହାକୁ ଛାତିରେ ଲଗାଇ ଶୋଇଥିଲି ତ କେବେ କୋଳରେ ତୋଳି ଧରିଥିଲି ଆଉ କେବେ ଆଣ୍ଠୁ ପକାଇ ମୁଣ୍ଡିଆ ମାରି ବଇଠିରେ ଥୋଇ ପଡ଼ିଥିଲି ସେସବୁ ଜ୍ଞାନ ହୁଏତ ଆଗକୁ ମିଳିବ ସେସବୁ ଜ୍ଞାନ ହୁଏତ ଆଗକୁ ମିଳିବ ଖାଲି ଯାହା ବହି ମାଗିବା ପକାଇବା ଉଠାଇବା ସୁବାସିତ ଚିଠି ଓ ଫୁଲ ରଖିବାର ବାହାନାରେ ଯେଉଁ ସବୁ ସମ୍ପର୍କ ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେଉଥିଲା ସେସବୁ ଗୋପନୀୟର ସମ୍ପର୍କର କ'ଣ ହେବ ବୋଧହୁଏ ସେସବୁ ସ୍ୱପ୍ନ ହୋଇଯିବ ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ very much.
Thank you so much, Supervisor sir. Thank you so much. Now, if we may have some questions to end the session. You have to go by 12. Okay. But just one question, I hope that won't trouble you a lot. Yeah, 3 questions. Any questions that you have? Yeah, can we just give a mic to her? You introduce yourself, tell your name, and then ask the question.
First of all, very warm greeting to all the dignitaries here. This is Pratiksha. Sir, all of your poems were just a treat to my eyes and ears. I get goosebumps when I was hearing everything. I would ask to you, sir. Sir, when you told your second poem, I Will Eat Everything, what inspired you to write such a poem? Because even I write. When I write, I use poetry as to express myself, or what I feel I write. So what inspired you to write this poem?
Thank you for your question, and I'm very happy to know that you also write poetry. Well, you already said that you express yourself in your poem. I did express myself in that poem. But I did, the way you saw that poem evolves from the beginning to the end. At one point, it's very easy to read. It's the language been used, the rhythmic language. In Bengali, it's called Sharobitto. If you know the Bengali rhythm. I don't know how many of you speak Bengali here. Raise your hand, how many of you speak Bengali here? Nobody? Well, yesterday we found a book. So, from the beginning of human race, there are problems. The poem is actually talking about the problems. And we revolt against that. Poet's job is to think the way he would, or write something that he would be interested in. So I'm interested in those things that I talked about, that I will eat the tyrant's fate with fate, because there are so many tyrants. They want to govern us differently. But we want to see the world our way. I believe you got the answer.
Yes.
And you will get a magazine that I said. Everyone who asks a question, a copy
Please come.
for you.
She will be coming upstairs.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other questions? You know you get a book. So see, now they will raise their hands. Huh?
It was a privilege to hear you all recite your poems. So my question is, not every day is the same, and I'm sure everyone must, like all of you must have felt unproductive on certain days. So on days when you feel unproductive or not so motivated enough to write, what is the biggest source of inspiration for each one of you all to write something that pushes you out of your bed to write something? What is that source of inspiration?
Anyone can take that question. Would you like to answer, Diti ma'am? Amir sir will take it.
Well, nothing. If you wake up with a poem in your head is very rare. I think a poet cannot force a poem to be written. It's not possible. I mean, you can master the technique, you can think about a subject, and still the poem will not come. So when I wake up in the morning, I meditate. I try to keep my door open to anything to come in. I don't try to write. And sometimes while I meditate, something comes up. But it's the art of effortless effort. And you cannot just make the poem go on the paper without opening, without letting go to a certain extent.
Well, I would also, this is a very good question, however. It's a great question. I would say keep on reading. You don't have to write every single day. Read as much as you can. There is something called that writer's block. It happens to every writer. Months after months, you will not be able to write anything, but one day you're sitting, in 10 minutes, you wrote 3 poems. It could happen. But keep on reading as much as possible. Read from different part of the world, not only our poetry, not only Bengali, Marathi, and English. Try to go across the world and see what other poets, great poets, are talking about. Okay, thank you. This is your
Come in.
copy.
Come into the stage. It at the center.
Yes. What's your name? Tarasha.
I think, no, now if the question keeps on coming, we will pass the time loop. I understand you do have a lot of questions, but I'm afraid that is all the time we have for us. One more? Okay, the boy to the left.
Good morning, sir. I'm Anuj Patnaik from class 9. Sir, I liked your first poem about the cash. So, what's the name of the poem and what motivated you to write that?
The name of the original poem is Kichu Poisha Hole. Well, I have been living in the US for many years, more than 30 years now. I have a longing for Bangladesh because I'm there. So I'm talking to Bangladesh in that poem. If I have some money, I will spend my time listening to the bees and all these things, because our part of the world is more natural. You see, a lot of nature close to me, and I grew up in a village. So, and I'm saying that I will have my head upon your breast and sleep all night in tranquility. So that's, loving my country, my motherland. That main motivation of this poem is loving my motherland. Thank you for your question. Here is the book for you. This is for you. Yeah. Take a picture.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But before we leave you, Madam and Sirs, we are grateful for your presence here. And we would like to reciprocate that with a small token of our love and admiration for you. For that, may I request our supervisor, Mr. Sitikantapati, to be on stage. Sir, please. Supervisor, sir, is seen gifting a Pattachitra, a Jagannath Pattachitra. Is the Holy Trinity, along with a souvenir and the school magazine, Prerna. May we have a round of applause. The Jagannath Pattachitra is handcrafted with devotion and emotion, and our reverence for Lord Jagannath, Balabhadra and Devi Subhadra, the Holy Trinity of Odisha. The claps must go on. We were thoroughly thrilled and we learned a lot from all our distinguished guests. And it is just a small way to show our appreciation and admiration for each and every one of you. We will disperse shortly. I request all the students to stand as our guests will be departing from the hall.